Hey everybody, there's Shad Treadaway with churchplanners.com. We're backstage right now with my man J.D. Greear at the Velocity Conference 2011. And I wanted to take just a moment to maybe chat with you, J.D., and ask a question that even applies to me specifically. We planted a church about 4 or 5 months ago. And the thing that I even ask a lot, and a lot of other church planners ask a lot, is what's that thing, that sustaining element of ministry that we really need to kind of pull our strength from to carry through this process. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You know, I've been a pastor for about 9 years now, and I think the thing probably that I would say I've learned now as the center of my ministry, the center of my life, that I really wasn't that in touch with when I began ministry, is the gospel itself. I know that's kind of a strange thing, because it's not like I didn't believe the gospel when I started this, or I wasn't preaching the gospel. I mean, from the very beginning, we've been an evangelistic church, and God has blessed us with success in reaching people far from God. But it's only been in the last 4 or 5 years that I've learned what it means for the gospel to not only be the invitation for people to come to Christ, but the gospel to be that thing that we live in and move in and abide in, that we draw strength from. You know, I've heard it said, this is not original with me. In fact, nothing's really original with me. I think I've had like 3 original thoughts in my life, and none of them were that good. But I've heard, you know, that the gospel is not just the diving board off of which we jump into the pool of Christianity. It's the pool itself. It's not the ABCs. It's the A through Z. And, you know, I feel like for a long time, the way that I tried to change personally was just to do better and try harder. And most of the messages that I preached basically boiled down to that. It was like, you should be more generous. You should be more radical in the way that you follow Jesus. You should do this and that. And what I was doing was I was preaching a very like cool and very New Testament sounding version of the law. Do this. And now what's happened in my own life and I think in the life of the people that I'm leading is that what we're doing is I want people to walk away from our worship services not with a list of things that they're supposed to do for God, but in awe of what God has done for them.
That's awesome.
Because when we stand in awe of what God has done for us, then we naturally do the things that He has commanded us to do. And so, I think it was D. Martin Lloyd-Jones who said, the goal of a motivational speech is that you leave with action steps. The goal of a lecture is that you leave with information. But the goal of a sermon ought to be that you leave worshiping, so that what you do flows out of what you've seen and who you are.
That is incredible. Yeah, that's great. And I even think about that a lot in our processes. You have a tendency to kind of even look at the processes that other people go through. But how does the gospel translate to my specific circumstance in the vision that God's called me to?
Right.
Kind of flesh that out.
Yeah, I mean, it's, if 1 Corinthians 13 says that it doesn't matter how committed we get or what we do or how many spiritual gifts we are, if we don't have love, we don't profit anything.
Absolutely.
Then the central question ought to be, what is it that creates love in our hearts? And I drank deeply at every possible well in terms of, oh, this strategy will do it, this kind of preaching will do it, expositional preaching. No, it's topical preaching. No, it's this kind of thing. And a lot of those systems are great. But the only thing that produces love in our hearts for God is by standing in awe and drinking of the love of God for us. 1 John 4:19, we love Him because we first loved us. And as we come to know more about that love, everything else falls into place.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for that perspective. And I know that you'll find that very useful as well. JD, could you share maybe a blog for people, and a lot of people I know are following and reading a lot of what's going on, but what's the URL where people can kind of keep up with what you're doing?
My own blog is jdgreear, Greear.com, and from there they could probably link to, there's a lot of different times I'll highlight different gospel-centered resources that have helped me. There's sometimes I'll have something I write off, right in there. I've got a book coming out this fall it's called Gospel, Recovering the Power That Made Christianity Revolutionary, so maybe that'll be a help to somebody.
Send me a copy.
I will. Got me on film.
Yeah, you're committed now. So, hey, thanks again.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it, and God bless you. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you around soon.